its own brought iconic status, but also the personas he created, which broke boundaries, the unconventional, striking visual images that challenge perceptions of music, fashion and gender. Born in London, David Bowie went on to carve out a career that changed the path of contemporary music. David Silito now looks back at his life.
Meu, eu tô filmando isso aqui de manhã, agora são 1 hora e tá falando direto nos noticiários, tá? Então é muito triste, cara. Diretamente de Londres pra vocês aí, o ocorrido. E super triste, cara, com tudo isso.
Where do you start? The songs, the ever-changing appearance, the blurred sexuality, the mystique. If you want to understand the look and feel of the 70s, David Bowie is as good a place to begin as any. And now he's gone. A single message from his son Duncan. Very sorry and sad to say it's true. I'll be offline for a while. Love to all. He died, it said, peacefully, surrounded by family, after an 18-month battle with cancer.
Ele lutou muito, 18 meses com 18 meses lutando com relação, brigando com o câncer, né, em luta contra o câncer. E morreu junto com os familiares.
Pulled off Ziggy Stardust, a pop character, with gasps, despair. It wasn't just the music. He was like an alien who had arrived to rewrite the rules of what you could do, how you could look. A few months later, he reappeared with an entirely different look and sound.
I felt really comfortable going on stage as somebody else, and it seemed a rational decision to keep on doing that. And so I got kind of besotted with the idea of just creating character after character.
Time is waiting. Soul music, Jacques Brel, Anthony Newley. He was a musical jackdaw. He'd studied mime, hung out with Iggy Pop and Lou Reed, and at one point he changed his entire sound in the middle of a tour.
If you take this assignment, you'll have complete authority.
And in The Man Who Fell to Earth, he played an alien struggling to relate to the world he was in. It was alarmingly close to real life. He was falling apart. Drugs were taking over.
We could be here just one more day.
He had to escape. He went to Berlin and with Brian Eno created music that the critics adored. But this was about much more than just the music.
It was an extraordinary fusion of absolutely brilliant music. You know, you can't forget what a fabulous lyricist he was, what an interesting lyricist. You know, the way that he poured different aspects of art into the presentation of his music. He was the absolute sort of definitive fusion of pop music, fashion and art.
What came next was the era of video. Again, Bowie was ahead of the pack. And this was the peak of his chart success. His new, clean-cut, MTV-friendly style made money, but didn't make him happy.
Artistically and aesthetically was probably my lowest point.
If he was worried he'd become too mainstream, the noise created by his Tin Machine project solved that problem. In the 90s, he embraced a new invention, the internet. But his appearances in public gradually became rarer and rarer. Then, unexpectedly, a final burst of creativity. An older, frailer Bowie, but still recognizably the man who always wanted to move forward. That restless desire to change. His echoes are all around us, and the landscape of pop culture, influential, is almost an understatement.
Não dá pra acreditar até agora, né? Caraca.
Well, in the hours since news of David Bowie's death emerged, there's been a stream of tributes from those who worked with him or those who simply loved his work. From prime ministers and archbishops to actors and even an astronaut in space. Tony Visconti, who worked closely with him, said this: he always did what he wanted to do, and he wanted to do it his way.
Ele sempre fez
he
o
wanted to do it the best way.
E fez da melhor
no
forma.
Different from his life, he said, a work of art.
Trabalho de arte.
Now with more reaction to Bowie's death.
by David Bowie, an artist who always had just a touch of the unearthly about him. Among the tributes on Twitter, Britain's current starman, astronaut Tim Peake, who said Bowie's music was an inspiration to many. Madonna said she was devastated, describing Bowie as a great artist who changed her life.
Estava devastada
Actor
por
Ricky
tudo.
Gervais wrote,
Rick
"I
Vales,
just
sabe?
lost a hero, R.I.P. David Bowie." Rocker Billy Idol said he was nearly brought to tears by news of Bowie's passing. And Prime
Billy
Minister
Idol.
David Cameron said he grew up listening to Bowie, a master
O
of
David Cameron
reinvention.
ouviu, cresceu ouvindo o David Bowie também.
Today we're mourning the loss of an immense British talent. I mean, genius is an overused word, but I think musically, creatively,
Está todo mundo
artistically,
muito triste
David
por ele ter
Bowie
morrido
was
também.
a genius.
Que é o prefeito.
Even the Archbishop of Canterbury was a fan.
Recording this for
I
friends.
remember sitting listening to his songs endlessly in the 70s particularly, and always really relishing what he was, what he did, the impact he had.
Every person when they're young thinks they're the freak, they're the outsider, they are the other. And Bowie, by presenting these various personae who were the freak, the other, the outsider, gave them something to relate to in a way that pop stars who offer wonderful songbooks do not. And so it's personal, and people are grieving personally.
As pessoas estão sofrendo muito pelo
David Bowie's death made headlines around the world.
David Bowie, Musiker, Maler, kreativer Künstler mit jeder Faser.
В кругу семьи скончался легендарный музыкант Дэвид Боуи.
Good morning, America, and breaking news. Legendary rock star David Bowie passing away overnight.
They were laying flowers this morning in front of a mural of the singer in his birthplace, Brixton in South London.
Very shocked, you know, he doesn't seem quite old enough to go, and there's totally unawareness of his illness, wasn't there? So, yeah, it's very, very sad.
The death of an icon is a huge thing socially, and I think we're going to see a lot of reactions.
It's just days since Bowie's latest album was released. On it, this song about dying. It's called Lazarus.
Look up here, I'm in heaven.
Ele canta essa música falando sobre a morte que está no céu, que está morrendo. Olha só, o cara já presenciava já a morte. Estou nos céus, I'm in heaven, no capo, olhe para cima. Eu tenho marcas que não podem se você não pode ver.
I've got nothing left to lose, he sang, treating death as yet another performance.
Eu não tenho nada.
Lazarus
Eu não
rose
tenho
from the
mais
dead.
nada que perder.
David Bowie won't, but his reputation will live on. Nick Hyam, BBC News.
Então nesse vídeo ele
Well,
reporta muito
ABC
isso.
correspondent Mallory Hoff is outside David Bowie's apartment building in New York, and that the city where he felt most at home.
Simon, New Yorkers certainly have very special places in their hearts for David Bowie. They say they often enjoyed simply seeing him around the Soho area. This is where he lived with his wife, supermodel Iman, for a number of years. This is actually the building you can see outside here. A number of flowers and candles, people coming by to pay their respects. This is certainly a makeshift memorial that is expected to grow throughout the day. Now, David Bowie had co-written an off-Broadway show that was in performance currently. The last show expected to play on January 20th. We've also learned that Carnegie Hall was planning to honor David Bowie in March. Still unclear exactly how that performance will take place. But again, out here in Soho this morning, quite the scene. A lot of people walking by, waking up to this news, learning about the death of an icon, a legend, David Bowie. A lot of New Yorkers feel gone too soon. Simon, back to you.
Larry, thank you very much for that. Well, our art editor, Will Gompert, is here. Of course, the music was huge, but he was more than that in a way. This is a cultural loss.
É uma perda cultural, além de ser uma perda da música, da arte, né?
Of pop, Simon. He took the art form, which was quite macho, rock and roll, early 70s, and he transformed it into something completely different, something nuanced and
Ele transformou a música pop numa coisa completamente nova com relação à música britânica, né? Dos anos 70 até agora, formando...
He was, in a way, an existential artist. he was taking
formando
on
isso,
subjects and themes which
fashion,
simply
né,
weren't
que é
even
moda
thought
e
about in the pop music world beforehand, which was very straightforward. And he suddenly found that there's millions of people in bedrooms across the world, often in suburbia, who he connected with, who had the same feeling of being a misfit, not fitting into the world that it was presented to them, but believing in a different world. And he presented that world to millions of people, and they inhabited it with him. And in that way, he is extraordinary. And then, of course, he just changed and changed and changed and changed, decade after decade, sometimes successfully, sometimes less successfully. But it didn't matter to him. What mattered to him was saying that what he had to say that he thought was important and putting it out there. And if people were with him, they were with him. And if they were against him, they were against him.
Well, briefly, I was going to say, whilst there was a generation, you and I may be part of it, which related to it, there was a generation very uncomfortable with what he represented.
Yeah, having some bloke pitch up on television looking like a woman was an anathema to people like my parents. But, you know, too bad, the world had moved on. He was a punctuation point, and he connected with millions of people, as I said, around the world. And the thing about Bowie, I was just thinking about it this morning, what was it that made him touch us so deeply? And I think it was he just had an honesty about it. So although he was an extraordinary character and an extraordinary artist, there was always also something incredibly ordinary about him. He was the boy from South London. You know, he was a man who fell to earth, and he kept his feet fairly firmly on the earth. When other people were taking taxis and first-class jets, David Bowie would just be on the underground, put on a pair of dark glasses, read a Greek newspaper. Nobody bothered him.
Well, thank you very much. We'll come to that. Thank you. Well, there will be a special programme on the life and music of David Bowie. It's on BBC One tonight. That's David Bowie.
Hoje a BBC vai ter um programa especial sobre David Bowie, falando lá um pouco da história.
Coming up to a 1:15, our top story of this lunchtime. David Bowie, the iconic British musician, has died at the age of 69 in New York after battling
69 o cara morreu. Nova York. Caramba.
He influenced the generation with his image, his style, and of course, his music.
Later on BBC London, the love that never
Negócio.
a couple reunited at Heathrow.
O negócio é o seguinte, ó, eu filmei um pouco, tá, agora do que aconteceu, e essa semana eu tava ouvindo as músicas do Bowie. Cara, é incrível como é a vida, né? Tipo, meu pai fala, pra morrer basta estar vivo, cara. Mas, ó, vamos fazer um minuto de silêncio aí e vibração positiva para que a alma desse grande músico se eleve, né? E é isso aí, galera. Eu gravei para vocês de coração, tá? Assiste o vídeo aí. Muito obrigado.